external links, and so forth. So, in sum, the Sumerian myths were adopted and adapted by the Akkadians, and they're probably adopted and adapted by the Babylonians, and then the Assyrians, etc. And then they were adopted and adapted by these Mesopotamians, Assyrians, and it becomes with the people that were in Genesis, those or the later to be called the Hebrews, those who crossed rivers or they made a passage along with Abraham to the land of Canaan, which is Israel today. They made it a holy land by getting rid of the Canaanites who had this god called El, E-L, which is a pagan god, etc., etc. Because that whole area had to be a holy land for the holy people chosen of God, right? And they went through all their troubles, tribulations and stuff like that. Family knows that God went through all this stuff, and then they eventually scattered all over the place and so forth, according to the biblical history, scriptural history, and all that sort of stuff. So it all started from Mesopotamia, okay, and it spread out. It was way before these Egyptians. They didn't have like an animal drawing, their language, Egyptian language, their hieroglyphics, whatever. They had their own language. Maybe they went there, according to this different books we've read. They've probably taken some of that, because they did trade. They went there and we'll trade you this for that. That's how they, got on in those days apparently. People coming in from the sea, maybe the Phoenicians, something like that. Trading with them, their goods for their goods, especially lapis lazuli and all this sort of stuff. Right. So these Aramaeans might have gone back and created this language, because apparently, according to this book we read on history, Egyptian was something like read right to left, and then it was changed and went to left to right, or the other way around. And they adapted. The Aramaeans adapted this language because they were using cuneiform, and it's just too damn hard. Unless you're like way up in the courts, you had the education, you had to write, you had to read, all that sort of stuff. It was just a pain in the bum. So they needed to find another language that was easier to use. So they came up with the Aramaean, and they probably used it other areas, right? Then you had Hebrew, Judean, etc., etc. It all sort of melded together, sort of thing. But as we say, don't trust us. Go and do your own personal research to verify that, right? We're just giving this general idea, okay? Because we could be completely wrong, okay? We might find something in the histories that says something different, right? But it's all coming from, according to the Brita, or in the Aramaic or Genesis account, it's all coming from this area here, which is not in Africa. Okay? There's evidence, there's established fact that it's not coming from Africa. Okay? It's coming from this area here. Because remember the men who travelled to the east, to an eastern region, a desert region, Shinar in Genesis, or Sumer. Okay, that's where they were. They were in this area, an Assyrian area, right? And they built that tower, okay, which they named. They said, let's give ourselves a name, a national name, so if we ever scattered, well, at least we know who we are, sort of thing, according to Genesis. Okay, so for anyone, especially these US black Hebrew Israelites or the UK one or whatever, tell you it all started in Africa, baloney. Okay, it's total baloney. The land's all being one massive land mass, until the plates shifted and whatever, and land's divided, and you get these rivers and all that sort of stuff, right? Probably from the Genesis, beginning of the Genesis account, the paradise, right, and so forth. If they tell you, it all started in Africa, everyone came from Africa, it's a load of baloney, because the scriptures actually start here. Okay? I mean, if the Euphrates was in Africa, wouldn't it be in Africa today? No, it's not in Africa, it's here. Okay? So don't believe that baloney. Okay? That's why we're bringing you the real truth, that whole truth and nothing but that truth. None of this made up stuff, right? And silly names like Yahoo, Washi Washi, Yahoo, Woo Woo Woo. Oh, it's in the Hebrew when it isn't. We've verified that through a Dr. Professor James De Francisco, who has 2 PhDs or doctorates in Aramaic, which will probably be the modern, or Syriac in Hebrew, modern Hebrew. We presented those names because we heard them on a live stream from Sarnita's Household Consciousness. A lady was saying it, and other people were saying, oh yeah, praise Yahoo, Washi Washi, Yahoo, Woo Woo Woo, whatever, right? So he approached him with it, and he says, what the hell is that? It's not even Hebrew. It's made up. You know, this guy should know if he's an expert in it. So, here is the ancient Sumerian account again. Ancient Sumerian accounts of the Great Flood, gods left earth to be safe in the heavens. Ancient Sumerian accounts of the Great Flood speaks of a time when gods came down from heaven, creating the first cities on earth. But these same gods left earth to be safe in the heavens before the Great Flood swiped across the planet. While there are many accounts of ancient prehistoric floods, the earliest flood legend in the word mythology actually originates in one of the most enigmatic and mysterious ancient civilizations to inhabit our planet, the Sumerians. The account of the Great Flood, according to ancient Sumerian legend, date back to about 200 BC, to a time when gods left earth to be safe in the heavens. Remember the desert region that all the men flooded to in the east? They all gathered in one place. Sumer or Shinar. That's probably where these Sumerians started up. Yeah, and then God comes down and stops them working on the tower, and then disperses them, scatters them across that region, that earth, with these different languages to confuse them all, right? Okay. So that's probably where that started. Yeah, this big city, this big group, the Sumerians. Many of the ancient Sumerian clay tablets provide incredible stories that are mainly considered as legends or myths. Myths always have that little piece of truth in it, right? It's a way that those ancients could explain something, like their kid, right? Oh, Granddad, why is the grass green? Granddad, why is the sky blue? Granddad, how come he's white and I'm black or brown? Granddad, you know, those questions, right? Or curious people. That's their way of explaining it. They add a bit of a story to it, you know. Or the gods, you know, the gods gave us steel, and, you know, Conan sort of thing. Anyway, many of the ancient Sumerian clay tablets provide incredible stories that are mainly considered as legends or myths simply because we are unaware of their true meaning and can't comprehend something that makes our mind wander into the unknown. Yeah, in those days it's like, oh sheesh, there's something flying across the sky. What the hell is that? Oh, it's a chariot. And those people in there are the gods and all that sort of stuff, because they can't explain it. So they're looking around, well, what can I compare it with? Okay, the chariot over there's got wheels. That's got wheels that go around. And you can sit in it, so these people are sitting in it, you know, inside all that sort of stuff. So you go, it's the gods, you know. Okay, the ancient gods An and Enlil, Inki and Ninhursanga created the black-headed people. Yeah, Hebrew Israelites say, oh, that means it's Africans. And these people had black hair. Okay, black-headed, black hair. That's what it means, right? While also creating comfortable and condition for animals to live and procreate. That's what we read before. Then the kings descended from heaven. Kingship descends from heaven, and the first ancient cities are found: Eridu, Bad Tibira, Labarak, or Larak, Sipa, and Suripapak. In the Sumerian region, the Mesopotamian region, Assyrian, right? Not in Africa. You can understand that once these people are dispersed from the Tower of Babel, according to Brito or the Genesis account, okay, they migrate over here. Okay, it's a bit cold over here. We'll just keep going over here. We'll try to find somewhere warm. And they end up there, right? So they get this tan because the sun's hitting them all the time, right? Maybe their body adapts. Maybe they evolve. Was it RH or something? RNA, whatever. Melanin, etc. You know, become darker, right? Because of the heat constantly hitting them. Whereas the people that roamed to the west or into the European areas like Caucasus monks or whatever lived in caves, and it was cold, so they got to keep warm. So they got to go kill animals, strip them of their fur, put it on, and it's much better, right? Okay. There's two different regions that have two different temperaments, two weather conditions, right? One's really, really hot and one's really, really cold. Okay. So obviously you're going to get pale, aren't you? You got these furs on. You might have had a bit of a tan from the sun, but underneath you got white patches because it hasn't seen the sun, right? Or you're covered in fur during the winter, so your skin goes pale until you get sunlight and you start getting a tan. Yeah, but because you might not have melanin in your system, or the RNA or whatever it's called, RH factor or whatever, you might go red first, because you always lived in cold conditions. You go red first and you start to go a bit browner after that. You're not like the other people that have the melanin in them, the RN or RH or whatever it is, right? And you can quickly get dark, etc., etc. Okay, so the Sumerians were the first people who started building actual cities. This is cities, not mud huts. Okay, etc., etc. Organised using actual city grids, like we see in modern day cities around the world. They invented sewer systems. They invented cobblestones, frequently used in the pavement of early streets. They were also taught in agriculture, but most importantly, they were the first civilization. When you look at the word civilization, that's where they stopped fighting each other and they actually became civil. They were at peace with each other. The north, the south came together. I.e., the perfect example would have been Egypt. Okay, we'll give them that credit. They invented the first known writing systems by using the cuneiform script on clay tablets. Yeah, that's the Easterners. Okay, the Mesopotamians, Assyrians, Sumerians, Akkadians, etc. Okay, whereas the Egyptians had a language, but they also had and used more of the hieroglyphics. Okay, where they drew animals, their symbols, whatever. Right? Okay. So yeah, these people invented a writing system, cuneiform, and they put it on clay tablets. Okay. Carving the stones too hard, you might lose the stone. You might throw it in a river or something, or whatever. Use it for an anchor. So it's easier to put it on clay and then fire it, right? Etc. etc. Hell of a lot easier to carry around than 613 stone tablets. They were one of the most advanced ancient civilizations. History tells us many interesting facts and stories about the Sumerians, and even today archaeologists and historians still do not have a complete picture that could tell everyone about the people that once inhabited the region of the Tigris and Euphrates River. So they've got to guess it. Okay? From the information, gather the facts, establish the facts, find the evidence prove itself, etc., etc. Right? And come up with this idea, well, according to this and that, this is what it was like. According to our archaeological findings, discoveries, etc., etc., this is what it was possibly like. This is what it says when we translate the cuneiform tablets, right? 1,200 years had not yet passed when the land extended and the peoples multiplied. The land was bellowing like a bull. The gods got disturbed with the uproar. They made too much noise. Enlil heard their noise and addressed the great gods. The noise of mankind has become too intense for me. I can't sleep. With the uproar, I am deprived. Yeah, I'm asleep. I was just guessing at that one. Cut off supplies for the peoples. Let there be a scarcity of planet life to satisfy their hunger. Adad, another custodian, should withhold his rain, and below the flood, the regular flooding of the land, which made it fertile, should not come up from the abyss. And this is a pantheon of many gods that the Sumerians, etc., had belief in, right? What's the god of the river? Oh, what's the god of the sky? Oh, how about that god? Oh, that's that. Making up all these pantheon of gods. Adad, another custodian, should withhold his rain, and below the flood, the regular flooding of the land, which made it fertile, should not come up from the abyss. Okay, so they're basically depriving them. Let the wind blow and parch the ground. Let the clouds thicken but not release a downpour. Let the fields diminish their yields. Everything dries up, right? There must be no rejoicing among them. William Bramley, The Gods of Eden. Were gods angry with humans? Why is that gods or God, depending on which story of the flood you read? Why is that gods or gods, depending on which story of the flood you read, show ruthless behaviour towards mankind? Wasn't Zeus, etc., like that in the Greek myths? And what do all of the myths have in common? According to writings on an ancient Assyrian tablet, we understand the following. Command that there be a plague, let Namtar diminish their noise. Let disease, sickness, plague, and pestilence blow upon them like a tornado. They commanded, and there was plague. Namtar diminished their noise. Disease, sickness, plague, and pestilence blew upon them like a tornado. William Brownlee, The Gods of Eden. Ancient Sumerian tablets interestingly mention that just before the Great Flood swept across Earth, that'll be in those regions, probably the Mesopotamian regions, as we stated before, not a worldwide global flood, the gods left our planet to be safe in the heavenly, returning only after the end of the Great Deluge. Okay, so it could have been worldwide, or could have just been that area where those people were. Okay, they were going to destroy them all by, according to the story, firing or hitting polar ice caps, which then would flood the whole world, right? Yeah, in that region, would flood that whole region, killing all those servants, those creations off. But why is that some parts of the stories are plausible while other parts of it, like when gods flew to the heavens, are considered improbable? Interestingly, the story of Noah, the most popular story of the flood, probably illustrates similar stories as those seen in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which predates the Bible, 3,000 years before. According to the Epic of Gilgamesh, Enki, the creator god of man, approached a mortal named Utnapishtim and spoke to him, revealing the plans of the gods. This is seen in the Babylonian cuneiform text, translated by Irving Finkel, okay, the curator, etc. of the British Museum. Okay, revealed the plans of the gods, giving him plans on how to build a boat, the coracle, and how to survive the wrath that the gods would set upon earth. Once the flood had swept across the planet, okay, here it says the planet, possibly just in that region, okay, fulfilling the wrath of the gods Utnapishtim, that's the Mesopotamian regions, and of the gods Utnapishtim, Atrahasis Na in apostrophe AH in Palestine, which sounds pretty much like now. He offered sacrifice to the gods, and after which the gods allowed him to live. But is it possible that stories about the great floods caused by the wrath of God or the gods were not a myth, and what if accounts of ancient cultures are in fact true? What if gods did in fact exist on earth, and what if they did travel to the heavens just before the flood? Well, according to Robert Ballard, one of the best known underwater archaeologists, who in 1985, using a robotic submersible with a remote controlled camera, found the famous shipwreck of the Titanic, the Great Flood did in fact happen in the distant past. That could be that worldwide global flood because of the Ice Age, when everything melted and flooded the earth, caused tidal waves, whatever, or something hit the earth, whatever scientists have come up with over the years. Okay, Ballard believes that some 12,000 years ago, much of the Earth's surface was covered in ice. Yeah, it was the Ice Age, right? And he states where he lived in Connecticut was ice a mile above his house, all the way back to the North Pole, about 15 million kilometres. That's a big ice cube, he said in an interview with ABC News. But then it started to melt. We're talking about the floods of our living history, he added. According to Ballard, after the water from the glaciers started melting, it rushed into the world's ocean, causing huge, catastrophic flood around the world. There's a global flood. The question is, was there a mother of all floods? Ballard said. A controversial theory proposed by Columbia University scientists claims there was a giant flood in the distant past in the regions of the Black Sea. According to researchers, the now salty Black Sea was once an isolated freshwater lake, which was surrounded by huge areas of farmland. That is until it was flooded by a huge wall of water coming from the rising Mediterranean Sea. Scientists estimate that the force of the water was in fact 200 times stronger than that of the Niagara Falls. The giant wall of water swept away everything that it encountered in its path, creating total destruction and chaos in the region, changing the geography of it. Jordan Maxwell talks about the what's that word? Can't remember. It's like the Tohu and the Vovu or something like that. That before the creation there was beings other beings on a planet, and they hacked off the God or something like that, and they faced the destruction. And then Adam and Eve when they were created, they were told, go and replenish, increase the earth, right? Meaning do it over again. Okay, have a look at his videos, but the Tov and something else, Tohu and the Vohu or something like that. What if the tales written by the ancient Sumerians are correct, authentic, and of actual historical value? Is it possible, like ancient clay tablets suggest, that gods did in fact descend from the heavens, creating the first cities on earth? And is it possible that these same gods escaped to the heavens before the Great Flood? The question that inspires debaters in ancient Sumerian texts: can we identify the difference between myth and reality, and what kind of reality is accepted by mainstream scholars today? It seems that the ancient clay tablets of ancient Sumer have incredibly valuable history stories that have been ignored for decades by mainstream scholars. Okay, so if you found this video very, very interesting, we haven't really looked at the Garden of Eden.